Every successful business evolves. And to keep up, you need a bank relationship that evolves too. When you collaborate with KeyBank, you don't get one-size-fits-all solutions. Our expansive team of experts across industry verticals wouldn't be here if you did. Always ready with bespoke solutions for your biggest challenges and opportunities. We know all businesses are different, and that's why we approach business differently. Reimagine business as usual. KeyBank opens doors. Learn more at key.com/B2B.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump taking the fight to the drug cartels. And boy, in the last few hours, even on the streets of America, going after ICE, including drug traffickers, well, it's been tough business because the governor and other folks there, the mayor, a whole bunch of people in North Carolina are fighting back. It's a pretty blue state, and they have been raising holy heck about ICE in their communities, saying, get them out of here. They're ruining Christmas, because they tracked down a criminal migrant who had a pretty severe criminal background, and he happened to be working near a Christmas tree farm. And now the word is ICE is ruining Christmas. Are you kidding me? Well, President Trump, as I said, is indeed taking the fight. And in just the last few hours, they went after another drug gunboat, this one again near the coast of Venezuela. And President Trump says he is not backing down anytime soon. Here's what he said at the White House just a little bit ago.
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is, look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? You know, there's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir. Absolutely.
I don't know who the 15% would be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
tons and tons of
You would
drugs.
say that's a big signal.
Absolutely.
We have almost no drugs coming into our country by the sea, by, the waterways. And you know why, okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Would I do that on the land corridors? I would absolutely. Look, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. Not to mention the destruction of families. These families are decimated forever. The mother, the father, the children, they never recover really from it. When you lose somebody like the way they live, if you lose them, but the way they die is horrible.
Is it something?
So when we knock out a boat and we save 25,000 lives, that's great. Now, do I feel the same way about the corridors that they use? We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get their things here, how they get the drugs here. Fentanyl, cocaine. Colombia has cocaine factories where they make cocaine. Would I knock out those factories? I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it because we're going to save millions of lives by doing it.
Would you only do it with Mexico's permission, though?
I wouldn't answer that question. I've been speaking to Mexico. They know how I stand. We're losing hundreds of thousands of people to drugs. So now we've stopped the waterways, but we know every route. We know every route. We know the addresses of every drug lord. We know their address. We know their front door. We know everything about every one of them. They're killing our people. That's like a war. Would I do it? I'd be proud to. I'd probably go into Congress and say, hey, and you know what? The Democrats and the Republicans would both agree, unless they're crazy. And they are a little crazy on the Democrat side. But we have lost hundreds of thousands of people a year, death. And that's not talking about family destruction, that's talking about death. And much of it comes through Mexico. So let me just put it this way. I am not happy with Mexico, okay?
I love President Trump. The fact that he says we know the address of every drug lord. That reminds me of the Taliban leader. Remember in Afghanistan when he said that he was talking to the leader of the Taliban forces there years ago, and he showed him a picture of his home and essentially said, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, you will see a cruise missile essentially in your house. I would say peace through strength works, and nobody does it better than President Trump. And by now telling the drug lords, guess what? We know where you live. I would say that gives them quite a bit of discomfort. Meantime, everybody's talking about the fact tomorrow there'll be a vote on the Epstein files. And here is President Trump talking about that, saying, yes, after all this back and forth, all this hoopla, let's do it.
Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others, they're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize a great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars, and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages, 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. But they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. You know, they cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much because, honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time.
And by the way, there is a report tonight that Larry Summers, and that's one of the names you just heard President Trump mention there. It's pretty interesting. Former Treasury Secretary, Harvard professor now, Democrat, someone who's been a critic of President Trump quite a bit. Well, his name came out in that big treasure trove of documents that were just released tied to Jeffrey Epstein. He also was part of the Clinton and Obama administrations. And the bad thing about, according to all these reports, is Larry Summers was still in touch and exchanging emails with Epstein well after his 2008 guilty plea in Florida for the sex crimes and continued it until Epstein's 2019 arrest on federal child sex trafficking charges. So he knew the guy had pled guilty in Florida. There were 11 years in between that time and the arrest. And apparently the emails show that he's back and forth communicating all over the place with this guy. And that was in the documents that were released last week by the House Oversight Committee. So Larry Summers, boy, oh boy, he puts out a statement. And get this, he said, I am basically stepping away from my assignments there at the university. It sounds like he needs a little downtime because he's been in the arena and in the spotlight. And he said, I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain that they have caused. In a statement he made to multiple outlets, he said, I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein. So I believe at the end of the day, when these documents get released, and they will now get all released because President Trump is saying release them, maybe there'll still be some vetting by the DOJ on sensitive matters or maybe victims of Epstein that have yet to come out. There may be things that are still withheld. But the fact that President Trump is like, just put it all out there, that shows to me that he has nothing to hide. Maybe he's been protecting a friend of his or somebody else. But all this time, all these documents have been in the hands of the Biden administration and they did nothing. So what does that say to you? That says to me that now, by the way, last week there was a vote on it and it was the Democrats who at first didn't want to release it. So now that the tables have turned and the Republicans are pushing to release this information to get it out once and for all, because it is a distraction to the president of the United States. And so far, we've heard not a single victim of Jeffrey Epstein implicate President Trump. Indeed, they said that he kicked this guy Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. So it shows that he was doing the right thing. I've heard Virginia Giuffre in her comments. She said President Trump was a gentleman, that there was nothing wrong. So we should just put it out there because this back and forth and all this other stuff is fueling conspiracy theories and fueling Democrats to go wild. And yet at the end of the day, remember last week they released like 2 or 3 emails trying to say, oh, this is President Trump. It turns out it's a lot of Democrats in the email that look pretty bad. So it's interesting to see the shoe on the other foot. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, the Democrats, I think, are going to be very sorry for what they asked for. They've been using this as sort of a punching bag at President Trump. He should just put it out there and then everybody can move on and then can say, oh God, here are the people. And listen, if there are people who committed crimes against young women, they should absolutely be prosecuted and held accountable, no matter what side of the aisle. I think we all agree with that. So what do you think is coming in these Epstein files? And where do you think the vote is going to go tomorrow? How many Republicans do you think will vote for it? How many Democrats? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And meantime, Zohran Mamdani, oh boy, wait do you hear what he said over the weekend? First off, President Trump also saying that the radical New York City mayor-elect, well, his team has been reaching out to the White House. Surprise, surprise. Listen to this.
The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
Isn't that interesting? And then Zohran Mamdani confirmed it too, saying, our team has been trying to reach out. I think it's a good thing to reach out to Trump. Maybe he realized, maybe he's had a little humble pie. Or do you think he's going to go in there all cocky, like turn the volume up type of Mamdani, like we heard on his, quote, victory speech? You think we're going to see that Mamdani? Or do you think he's realizing that the federal government can control the purse strings and can control the purse strings of New York City and any city across this country? The federal government trumps any local little pompous New York City mayor any day of the week. But Zohran Mamdani is still really dug in. Boy, would I love to be a fly on the wall for a meeting with Zohran Mamdani and Trump. Because over the weekend, Zohran Mamdani was asked on WABC television, what do you think? Would you still want to arrest Netanyahu? It's a crazy question because the answer is obviously it's ridiculous. But yet, listen to his answer and it's, yeah, this guy is still steadfast. Listen to this one.
You said you would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu based on the 2024 International Court arrest warrant. Next UN General Assembly, as mayor, would you do that?
So I've said time and again that I believe this is a city of international law, and being a city of international law means looking to uphold international law, and that means upholding the warrants from the International Criminal Court, whether they're for Benjamin Netanyahu or Vladimir Putin. I think that that's critically important to showcase our values, and unlike Donald Trump, I'm someone who looks to exist within the confines of the laws that we have. So I will look to exhaust every legal possibility, not to create my own laws to do so.
On the other hand, this is also a world event. Does that not count a little bit?
Well, I think we are a global city, but I also think what New Yorkers are looking for is consistency in the way in which we talk about our values and follow through on them. And that's why I think these warrants from the International Criminal Court, they are worth fully exploring every legal possibility to actually follow through on.
That is such an incredible comment. When you see that, he's essentially saying, I'm going to be using the guise of the International Criminal Court to arrest Netanyahu, putting him in the same category as Putin. That is absurd. And obviously, there's no way that New York City or United States should be following International Criminal Court law, which a lot of people do not respect or abide by, nor should they, especially when you look at the history. This is craziness. So what's ahead for Trump and Mamdani? And what's ahead on the Epstein files, guys? 1-800-848-9222. And we'll continue when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan, real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Catch up on the latest episodes, now playing only on Netflix.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to your calls, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Reggie in Texas. Line 2, Reggie, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Miss Rita, maybe that clown Mamdani can team up with Brandon Johnson there, the mayor of Chicago, wants UN in there to remove ICE. Maybe they can team up and get ICE in there, get ICE removed, and get Netanyahu arrested. Such nonsense.
It's lunacy, don't you think, Reggie? The sad thing is, that is what they're saying, but it's lunacy.
Yeah, it's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs time, definitely. As far as this whole Epstein thing, the Democrats just must be crying in their soup. This is going to absolutely destroy their whole, they've got nothing to try and hang Trump about. Now, Miss Rita, be prepared. There's going to be some kind of manufactured crisis coming up soon so they can try and take him out. This is backfiring.
Yeah, you know what? To me, it's a desperate attempt, just like you said, Reg. And I think it's going to backfire big time because you know darn well if there was something explosive to Trump in there, Biden would have released it a long time ago. They've had these documents, right? I mean, this is, you know they would have put it out.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. That would have been the first thing they would have done.
Yeah, it would have been, go to, Mr. Green with a candlestick, like Clue. It would have been like, go directly. There's no way. They would have put it out right away. They would not have held back. And that's why it's going to come back to bite them, I think.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit rei.com.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... there, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from New York, where 3 NYPD cops pulled a teen girl from the freezing Harlem River during a very dramatic caught-on-camera rescue, with one of the heroes saying nothing else mattered but getting her out of the water. NYPD officers Ankut Gupta, Wilmer Guerrero, and Shaibul Amin were all lauded just a few days ago for their quick work after the crying victim initially jumped into the very chilly waters in what sources said was an apparent suicide attempt. And then she quickly regretted her near fatal plunge. Officer Guerrero said, quote, "Somebody needed help, and this is what we signed up for. We're going to help," and that's exactly what we did. So he stripped off most of his gear and his jacket and took a dive into the freezing river and retrieved the teenager while the 2 other cops were standing nearby ready to yank the pair out and pull them onto shore. Officer Guerrero said, quote, "I was having a hard time because she was in such a panic frenzy, but I just kept my composure, saying encouraging words that we will get through this together." And they did. And boy, bravo to our great men and women with the NYPD and all they do to keep us safe every single day. The biggest police department in the country and the best. And we want to keep it that way. Remember Zohran Mamdani. Well, speaking of Zohran Mamdani, guys, he was doing an interview with WABC television over the weekend, and he was talking about his meeting with the current NYPD Commissioner, Jessica Tisch. This is cut number 5, and here is what Zohran Mamdani had to say about their meeting.
And I met with Commissioner Tisch just this past week and continue to be confident in the necessity of us delivering on this agenda and more.
She is like the other police commissioners under this mayor, closely managed by Mayor Adams. He's a former cop. Maybe that was going to happen no matter what. Did she say anything to you that she doesn't want that to happen? She wants to be in charge of that?
I think the conversation was more about what it can look like to continue to deliver public safety and what it could look like, especially without the distractions that we've seen over the last few years. And this is something that I shared, that I want this to be about the outcomes, because the most important thing is that New Yorkers are given a city that is safe and a city that is just. And too often those things have been put in tension.
Will she stay in that office?
I continue to be confident in my decision, but as soon as there's a public announcement to be made, we'll be sure to share.
Did she say, I got to think about this?
More of the conversation, frankly, had to do with what it looks like to deliver that public safety.
It's so no answer. Just we talked about public safety. Now, he was asked in a different part in the interview, what are the criterias essentially for an NYPD commissioner? You would think public safety would be the answer. But he said, well, I really like what she did to rein in corrupt police officers. Are you kidding me that that's the criteria? That he is saying that the criteria is what? Any cop gets out of line, we're disciplining them, and that's the priority of an NYPD commissioner? Dirty cops, that's what he sees as the priority? This is going to be trouble, guys. Boy, oh boy. And listen to a little bit more. It wasn't that long ago that he was saying police and prisons don't make us safer. So how would any NYPD commissioner with any self-respect want to work with this guy? Listen to him.
The way that prisons are set up in our society, I would argue that they do not work. They do not make us safer. The instinct is to just take that person, the source of that harm, the source of that issue, and then just throw them away. Put them in a cage and throw away the key. That doesn't address the reason why that harm was created in the first place. A lot of times, people who create trauma for others are those who themselves went through trauma earlier in their own lives. Right. And I bring all of this up to say that, you know, again, like when we talk about policing, I don't think the system actually makes us safer. I think what it does is it just removes problems out of view.
That's incredible. So policing and prisons don't make us safer. And he said that not that long ago, guys, and he continues to talk about this decarceration and getting to the root of the problem. I'm all for solving the root of the problem, but you also got to take bad people off the streets. And this guy seems to kind of leave out that second part. So I'll be really curious to see what's going to happen. And then he wants a civilian complaint review board to decide and discipline officers and take that power away from the NYPD commissioner. So in other words, he wants, if a cop needs to be disciplined, or even if he doesn't, but Zohran Mamdani and his team thinks he or she does, then as opposed to going it before an NYPD commissioner who's supposed to be semi-independent and be able to judge an officer because they had that lived experience and that connection to the department, they want to pass it off to some left-leaning, ultra-progressive, democratic socialist civilian complaint review board with a whole bunch of mini Mamdanis. And I hate to say that. That means that group almost every single time clearly comes in, I believe, with the premise of the officer is bad and the crook is a good guy or good gal, depending who it is. So, in other words, the deck is stacked against the officer. So how could an officer ever get a fair hearing if it goes before some politically charged, ultra-progressive review board? They can't. So that's my point. How could any, NYPD commissioner who has a great experience, and Jessica Tisch, I think, did a great job with Mayor Eric Adams. That combination, I think, was great for especially New York City. So I hope she gets back to him and says, I thought about it. No, and no. I'm not going to work with you, because she shouldn't give this guy any credibility. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey. Go ahead, Sandra, on line 4. Your thoughts.
Good evening, Rita. Oh, I agree with you on
on Tish not taking the job. I said that the other day, and I continue to say it. He's going to be using her. And in the end, she's going to be unhappy, and she's going to want to leave anyway, so quit while you're ahead. But what I was thinking about was Donald Trump. I love how he operates. For instance, he's going to meet Mamdani, and he's going to be nice, I bet. And he's going to play his cards a certain way so that he doesn't alienate himself from this person. And we have to think like a yard, not an inch. I think about Elise Stefanik. She's going to run for governor. If Donald Trump starts saying, oh, you're not going to get this, and oh, you're not going to get that, people are going to start to not like that. And what's his name? And Mamdani will look like the hero. And then people won't want to vote for Elise Stefanik. So I think he's going to let this guy, he's going to give him enough rope, and then he'll hang himself. Because that's what I think he's going to do, Donald Trump. I think he's going to, not interfere until it's necessary. And he's going to stay a little bit on the quieter side, maybe. And this way, Elise Stefanik has a very, very good chance of winning. Because if you don't play your cards right, it can make it harder for her. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he'll, but see, I actually think probably somewhere in the middle. I think, like you said, he's going to go and be cordial. He's going to see what this guy's about. Right. And I think he'll listen to him. And I think also President Trump does love New York. I mean, this is his home, and he truly does care about the city and does want the best for the city. So I think if he sees whatever the mission is as being a good thing that's reasonable for the city, I think even if he can't stand the guy, he will do it. And he doesn't agree with the guy, he'll still do it just because he loves the city, and he'll do it for the good of the city. And I think he wants to show that he can cooperate with anybody. On the other hand, the problem is this guy is so far apart. I mean, you look at like J.B. Pritzker, and you look at Brandon Johnson, and you look at all of these guys, and they are, they're so extreme. I can't even imagine a meeting with them and President Trump. And this guy, to me, is like them on steroids. I mean, truly, this guy, to me, is so much more extreme. He is a true ideologue, a true believer. And, when you get to the point of like arresting Netanyahu and opening up the jails, and he's not backing away. That comment that I just played about saying that he will abide by international law, whether it applies to Netanyahu or Putin, he just said it over the weekend. I mean, this is not like some outburst that he said when he was in kindergarten, Sandra, so that's why, and I think, look, Trump is onto him. You're going to see Mamdani with a slick little smile walk into the White House. He's going to try to look like the big bad mayor. But I also think if he asks something that's so unreasonable and is so ridiculous that President Trump is going to say, let's see what you can do, but I will give you funds. If you can do this, let's work together. I think he'll try to be reasonable. But I just think President Trump is so focused on law and order and saving New York and doing what's right for the city economically and safety and security. And this guy has so many issues that are immediately, when it gets to substance on a certain thing, there are going to be so many different guardrails. The other thing I think, too, is if things don't go well in that discussion, you can bet there'll be like a whole bunch of ICE folks coming into New York City, probably within 24 hours. And he's already said, Mamdani, that he will not let NYPD cooperate with ICE in any shape or form. So I guess part of the question would be in terms of that, will he, not interfere, but just not assist? Or will he try to interfere? I mean, you can't forget, you had the crazy Mamdani who was screaming at Tom Homan not that long ago, Sandra. Remember that whole crazy scene? I mean, he sounded like a madman when he was screaming at Tom Homan. So that guy, I don't see him sitting down if he wants. And then he's the same guy who, on the victory speech, turn the volume up, Donald Trump. He's like an in-your-face mayor. This is going to be interesting because I think he's going to try to puff his chest a little bit or come back out and say, oh, everything's great. But he doesn't seem to back away from his comments. And I don't think he's going to back away. He might try to do a little bit of a word salad when he's in front of President Trump. But I think President Trump is smarter than that. So they may have a nice meeting, but I don't think it's going to last long after that. What do you think, Sandra?
Well, let's wait and see. I had a question for you. One more thing. Do you know Donald Trump wrote a letter to the president of Israel to pardon Netanyahu? Do you think that may happen? I mean, because we want this man to come into New York. We need him to speak in New York and not get arrested by this mayor. So I wonder if that letter will have any impact, and I'm hoping that this man gets pardoned because he never did anything wrong. He was just trying to...
But there are two things. They're two different things. The Herzog, the letter to Herzog from Trump is about like internal corruption charges. By the way, just so everybody understands the history of Israel, there are a lot of prime ministers that seem to get brought up on corruption charges, whether the legitimate charges or not. They just seem to do that all the time on their opponents. Maybe they spearheaded weaponization in a lot of ways, similar to what you could see under Joe Biden versus Trump. So that's why I take a lot of those charges with a grain of salt. The other stuff is more tied to what they say is, quote, genocide. And it's interesting. I don't think the International Criminal Court, I'm not sure if they even mentioned Hamas or Hezbollah or Iran. So you be the judge of the credibility of the International Criminal Court. Sandra, but great points. I think Netanyahu should come to New York. And I love Ina Vernikov, who is the New York City councilwoman, because she said she'd like to invite him in January. I'd love to see her invite him in January on the day of the inauguration of Mamdani. And maybe she could bring a special guest. And the special guest is Netanyahu, gets to sit in front row and treated like the dignitary that he is, the world leader. He should sit on the stage there and just keep an eye on everything Mamdani says and watch Mamdani look at him. That I hope happens. I hope Ina Vernikov and Netanyahu come on that day. Boy, would that speak volumes. Sandra, thank you very, very much. Let's go to Susan in Corning, New York on line 2. Go ahead, Susan.
Hey, yeah, Rita, I've spoken to you before about the concern of Mamdani, who's endorsed and a puppet of the evil teachers union that has, just kept our children under their thumb of non-achievement. And New York City, okay, their budget for New York City is about $115 billion, and $40 billion of that goes to education. Only 30% of the children can read at or above grade level.
So what do you think that meant? By the way, and you're absolutely right, dismal records. So what do you think that means vis-a-vis Mamdani?
Well, no, it was not hardly even brought up in the campaign, and I was extremely disappointed in Curtis because he barely spoke about the children. Okay, I love dogs and cats, and we need animals, but children have to become a priority, and I am just disgusted and disappointed, and I want to know who is going to hold Mamdani's feet to the fire for education, reading, writing, arithmetic, not all this BS that has just taken our kids from COVID and all those bad policies from, unfortunately, our former mayor or current mayor. This is really got to be at the root cause of many things, and we cannot have minors being allowed to smoke marijuana openly, these toxic drugs. This is not the marijuana of, the past.
By the way, I agree. And you had a lot of good points about our kids there, Susan. And you're right, because Mamdani, a lot of the things, the teachers' unions, he definitely seemed to have them in his pockets, at least the big ones. during the campaign, and it makes you wonder what was the deal there. The other thing is, remember, he was going after the gifted and talented program, which a lot of people said were very helpful, but he was kind of going after that, and charter schools, which also give, low-income kids opportunities to really excel. Was it because he was beholden to the teachers union? It'd be interesting to know. So there's a lot of questions, and you're right. We absolutely have to keep an eye out for that. Great point, Susan, 100%. 1-800-848-9222, and we'll continue after the break on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. I use Shipt same-day delivery to stay connected with my sister during the holidays. She lives across the country. Shipt has tons of stores to order from. Groceries from Albertsons, crafts from Michael's, even pet supplies from PetSmart. The list goes on. So when we have long-distance movie nights, I turn to Shipt to get face masks, snacks, and everything else we need delivered to her and to me same day. Download the app or visit Shipt.com. That's SHIPT.com.
Every leap in American history has needed breakthrough energy.
Ignition, liftoff.
Now, AI is here, and Chevron is working to power it. We're aiming to develop multi-gigawatt power plants near data centers, designed with future pathways to lower carbon intensity. AI gets the power it needs, communities get the jobs, and the grid stays strong. Powering AI today builds America's next superpower.
At IKEA, your dreams can come true. Well, maybe not the ones where you're being chased by a monster. We're talking about kitchen dreams. And there are IKEA products and solutions for all of them. Whether it's a whole new kitchen, a statement glassware set, or just new cutlery. If you got big dreams or small dreams in any size of budget, IKEA can help you bring them to life. Visit IKEA.us/dreamkitchen to learn more. Dream the possibilities.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to the Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Robert in Brooklyn. Go ahead, Robert. Your thoughts tonight.
Hi, thanks for taking my phone call. Well, I think in terms of Elise Stefanik versus Kathy Hochul, I think it's very unlikely that Stefanik is going to be able to beat the Democrat.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, in New York State, you got about 5.9 million Democrats, but you only have like 2.8 million Republicans. You have about double the amount of Democrats than Republicans.
But Lee Zeldin, Robert, Lee Zeldin came very close. Remember last time, within, quite a few points. And I firmly believe if Lee Zeldin had gotten sort of his name out there before, he wasn't as well known statewide. But he did a great job, I thought, in the debate against her. It was that famous moment where she kind of said, why do you keep bringing up crime? And of course, crime was a major issue. And a lot of people went, whoa. But my point is that if he can do it, and she has a lot of name recognition, why couldn't she do it? Why couldn't Elise Stefanik? And especially Hochul seems to be flipping and flopping all over the place.
Well, even President Trump was never able to win in New York, and President Trump is the greatest, Republican like ever. He couldn't even beat Kamala Harris. Now, in terms of, I just want to point out, in terms of Israel, I'm very happy that President Trump has come out against Marjorie Taylor Greene. He made some posts on his True Social site.
Hey, Robert, what I'll do, I'll even hold you over, okay? Because I think you're making some good points. Stick with us, okay? We're going to go to a break. Everybody will continue with Robert. And Robert, you left out the fact that, of course, Governor Pataki, Republican governor in New York, there have been some very successful Republican governors. Maybe it's time again.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.